All right, guys. If you haven't watched the original Power Rangers show back in the 90s, if you don't know anything about the original Power Rangers show that was shot back in the 90s, if you don't know anything about the Power Rangers movie, we can't be friends. So, here's a YouTuber. He's doing an overview about why the uh, the new Power Rangers film bombed. So, let's see what's going on, man.
Mapped out a full cinematic universe built around teenagers in color coded armor. The studio's CEO was talking publicly about 5, 6, maybe 7 sequels before the first film even opened. The cast signed 4 picture deals. Dacre Montgomery, who played the Red Ranger, later described it as a Hunger Games style franchise strategy. Same studio, same ambition. And by the time the dust settled, Power Rangers had grossed $142 million worldwide on a $100 million budget, lost the studio an estimated $74 million when all revenues and expenses were factored in, and killed every sequel plan overnight. The strange part is,
See, this is the thing about when you're on that level, right? Whatever your budget is, you have to understand a lot of it outside of making the film. You have to promote the film. So a lot of people overlook that, and it's very expensive to promote a film because why? You have to pay for billboard space, you have to pay for radio ads, commercials. So that costs a lot of money. Like I forgot how much they charge. Like I think it's like per minute or something. They broke it down per minute. It's a lot of. It costs millions of dollars. If like any movie on that level. I think Lord of the Rings. I can't remember. I remember when they first came out. We watched it. We watched all 3 of them. But I don't think it was on that. Maybe I don't know because that movie came out a long time ago. But I don't know what the budget was back then. But of course, it's different now because everything's going up. So it wasn't as expensive as it is now. But I don't think they was just pushing the Lord of the Rings film like that back in the day. I don't know, but I know nowadays it costs millions of dollars, multiple millions of dollars to promote a film. So look at something like Avatar. You don't need to do that much advertising because everybody, that's the thing about it too. If you have a solid movie and you make a killing on it, the next one you do and the next one you do is less advertised because everybody already know about your first film. It was a blockbuster. It just kicked everybody's butt right in the theater. So when you do the next one, you don't have to advertise as much because everybody's waiting for you to drop the second one. And then okay, that did great too. Okay, so when the third one come out, not saying it's going to be cheaper, but it won't be as much as the first one because you're introducing something new, right? And you're taking a gamble and hoping that it's very successful. So the first one kicks out like the first Avatar, everybody went bananas. So then, oh, we're going to drop a second one. Everybody going crazy. So they don't have to advertise as much to promote the second one. And then when the second one came, it did crazy in the theater. So when the third one, oh, we're gonna do a third one. Okay, all right, everybody, they don't advertise as much because the name, the recognition's already out there. They're waiting for you to make the movie. So all you gotta do is just, hey, the movie coming out in 6 months. And then 3 months later, hey, the movie coming out in 2 months. Hey, the movie coming out this next month. That's it. But when the first one, when you had to introduce the first film, it's so much advertisement, so much. That's the thing too. Just do the research. All this stuff is free online, man. So I was watching an interview about one of the producers, and he was like, "Yeah, man, like the budget was 40 million." It's like, "Oh, that's not bad." Like, yeah, that's to make the film, but you gotta understand, we gotta spend money on merchandising. That costs so many millions, and then on top of that, advertisement. That's like that. They said that some films they make the ads or more than the film budget. So think about that. Like if the film costs 40, just throwing a number out there. If it costs $40 million the budget to make the film, these people will spend 80 million to promote the film. So that's where we at now. Like back in the day, you gotta remember, like, if you were born in the 90s, 2000s, you already know about DVDs. You already know about they had all kinds of stuff like you can buy a screensaver. You can do that now, but they had you can. Well, that's when it was new. The cell phone, all that stuff was new. They had it to where you can buy ringtone, screensavers for your phone, DVDs. They had all kinds of stuff like pamphlets and magazines. They had all kinds of stuff they was putting out there. So if they didn't do so good in the movies in the theaters, then they had the DVDs to fall on. And the VHS that was like in the 80s or whatever like that. But even still, If it didn't do good in the theaters or that good, then they knew they'll recoup the remaining amount from the DVDs or the the let me say in order, the VHSs, and then the DVDs came later on, so that then they'll just rely on the DVDs and they'll clean up like that. But now they have to advertise more, and then on top of that, they don't have, like, even though DVDs do come out, but people not, because you got streaming and stuff, so people not really just running the DVDs like that no more. So they can't rely on for DVD sales no more because it's on streaming services. So it's like, damn, we got to kick butt in the theater, because if not, we pretty much dead in the water. So that's just where it's at. But it's just a different time. But yeah, but the well, when DVDs first came out, like in the early 2000s, and then back, they was okay because, like I say, hey, the budget is 60 billion. All right, the theater made 100. Okay, but the DVD sale, we racked up another 80 million. So they good. So that's how it worked back then. But now it's just different because you got streaming. It's like right there. What movie came out that sucked? Well, I enjoyed it. Morpheus. No, well, that too. But it was Morpheus. They got a lot of movies that came out. But the last one I watched, I finally watched Craven. I waited for it to be free. I got these streaming services. I'm like, nah, man, I ain't about to. I'm not paying for all these streaming services, and then you want me to come out and rent the movie? Like, no, bro. I'll wait for it to drop. And then they dropped. Craven dropped on Disney Plus. Watched it for the free, and it was good. I enjoyed it. But that movie didn't even stay in the theaters for like a month or something. It came out, it went straight to. It's like, damn. So it didn't even last for like a month in the theater. But it went to streaming, and that's it. So them guys don't have a lot of options as far as recouping that money that they didn't gain or lost from the box office. So it's a lot that goes into it. Like, your budget is one thing, but more than likely, you advertising the movie, the film, will cost double or the same, if not double, your budget to produce the film. So it's a lot going on, man. Like, not every movie is going to be $1 billion hit, but normally how it happens in the movie theaters, well, with these companies, whatever they make, it's pretty much like in sales. They want to triple they want to triple what their budget was to make it. So simple math, 20 million to make the movie. Okay, they want to make 60 million off of that. So if they make anything, if they make double, it's like, okay, you know, like Hellboy. I don't know how much Hellboy. Man, I watched all of them, at home. But whatever the budget was for the first two Hellboys, even though they get ready to drop a third one, well, with the original, actors and stuff. If it was 10 million to make Hellboy the first one, they want to make 30 million, or whatever, anything 30 and up. So if they hit 30 off that $10 million budget, they in the green. And we gotta remember, you gotta promote the video, all that stuff, yada yada yada. So if the minimum is 30 million, so they made 20 million um, off that $10 million investment for the film. So that's okay. It's like, it's not great, but it's not terrible. So if they were to make extra 20 million off the $10 million investment, they're okay. We okay. We okay. And then of course anything after that. So ideally, because 10 million, they want to make like 60. That's really what they want to be. Okay, if we can make 60 off this, we good to go. But 30 is like, it's not great, but it's not bad. So, but now, like, you got these, that's the thing too. Not every movie gonna be like an indie film and nothing like that. Like, I'll give Netflix they credit because I seen that coming years, when they started Netflix. I seen that coming like a couple years down the road. I was like, they gonna do this. They gonna start making their own stuff because, like, instead of them renting and borrowing or whatever the case may be, which they rent, they gonna end up just making their own because they spending so much money renting these films and then they have a short lifespan on them. It's like, well, why don't we make our own films? And that's what they doing now. So Netflix, they ain't got to worry about none of that. So they make a film, they got their own budget set up, whatever. They do great on the streaming services. On top of that, people's paying to, for the subscription on top of that. So, but yeah, as far as these blockbuster films, matter of fact, I don't know if it's gonna be the last one, but they about to drop another Avengers movie. I don't know what the budget of that film is. I guarantee it's gonna be like 400 million, some crazy number like that. So you can imagine how much money they're gonna take to advertise that. Remember, they're gonna advertise that film worldwide. They're gonna put it in Spanish, German, Japanese, what is it? African languages. They're gonna advertise that film around the world, and they're gonna go on these press tours and stuff like that. That's multiple millions of dollars. Multiple millions of dollars. They're gonna have the cast go and do these damn, these little meet and greets. They're gonna push that movie to the max. So they're gonna spend over 30 million. That's easy, and that's I'm probably way off with that just to advertise the film, because they're gonna take these actors, they're gonna travel all around the world advertising that film, doing meet and greets stuff like that. So they're gonna spend way more than that just to do the tour, the world tour. And on top of that, they gotta put up billboards, and they put in billboards in every major country, not city, in every major country. And on top of that, they don't have every radio station in all these major countries advertising this film. And they say, oh, is it they don't pay them? They do pay them. They just don't, they don't say it out loud, but donations or whatever you want to call it. But they're gonna pay these radio stations to promote this film. So that's I don't know, like 100 million easy just to advertise. On top of that, whatever they spent to make the film, because you already know the other ones. What it was, they in the hundreds of millions of dollars to make those films. So each one tends to get more expensive, but this one they making right now, it's gonna be another 400 million automatically to make this film, and most likely probably be the last one, or they gonna make this one. Then probably a couple years down the road, they probably make some more. But as far as we know, it's supposed to be the last one. But either way, it's 400 million to make that film off rip, and then they're gonna spend another 100 or so million to advertise the movie. That's gonna be a worldwide film. So it's a lot of money, man. You these big blockbuster films, and I'm gonna be honest, it's not like Bad Boys. It's not like Lethal Weapon. It's not like um well, not Independence Day, because Independence really have a lot of effects, whatever. But even though I'm kind of going way back, but it's not like Demolition Man. You know what I mean? To where they don't really have effects like that. It's like live action. They have some little explosions, something like that. But everything else, they actually make the cars. They actually make the buildings, and so they're not spending a lot of money on special effects. But when you got a movie like Avatar and the Avengers, majority of those films is freaking CGI special effects. That costs a lot of money. That's why the movie costs so much. But if you had another Lethal Weapon movie, another Bad Boys movie, those movies don't cost nothing, and that's why they like making those movies, because it's easy, it's cheap, and then the amount of money they can make, the profit out of it is endless. Because okay, we make the film, they make another Lethal Weapon, another Lethal Weapon film. How much the movie gonna cost? Like maybe 100 million if they really just want to do some crazy stuff, but after that they're gonna make like 500-600 million off that movie or whatever like that. You know what I mean? That's a given. That's why they like making them movies. Like Blade, oh God, I hope they make another Blade movie. They gonna make one. I just want Herschel Ali, but because the video getting too long. They make another Blade movie, just like they did. They make a part 4 like with Blade and with Wesley Snipes in it. Those movies don't cost a lot of money, but the amount of money they made, and then on top of that, even though it's back in the day, but they did have VHS, they had DVDs too, so they not even talking about how much they made off the DVD sales. And then now everybody's they found out, oh, they made Blade, and because thanks to was it Deadpool and Wolverine film. So you got a lot of these newer generations, they find out about the Wesley Snipes Blade films, and now they going back and watching them. So it's a lot of stuff like that going on. But them kind of movies, them live action movies, they don't really cost a lot of money to make. And on top of that, the profits they make off the movies is crazy. So, but yeah, we got them movies like Avatar and the Avengers and stuff like that. Oh man, most of their budget goes to special effects.
Audiences didn't hate this movie. It earned an A cinema score. Nearly 3/4 of its opening weekend audience was between 18 and 34. The core fan base showed up. They bought tickets, they liked what they saw, and they told pollsters as much on their way out of the theater. The problem was that almost nobody else came with them. Power Rangers is one of the most recognizable brands in children's entertainment.
Lousy cook!
It's been on television for 30 straight years. Billions in merchandise sold across dozens of countries. Turning that into a successful blockbuster should have been straightforward. The fact that it wasn't tells you a lot about how hard it had become to turn nostalgia into money by 2017. Haim Saban, the man who built the Power Rangers empire, bought the property back from Disney in 2010 for $65 million. Disney had acquired it as part of a massive $5.3 billion deal for Fox Family Worldwide back in 2001, but after nearly a decade of diminishing interest, they weren't doing much with it. Saban saw an opportunity to reclaim the thing that had made him a billionaire. By 2014, he had a partner. Lionsgate pitched Saban on an expensive theatrical reboot that could spawn a franchise. The studio was riding high off the Hunger Games and aggressively hunting for the next big multi-film property. They dated the movie for July 22, 2016, prime summer real estate, and the development machine started turning. Turning slowly, though. Ashley Miller and Zach Stentz, the writing team behind X-Men First Class and Thor, were hired to write the screenplay. Their draft was rejected. Max Landis, the Chronicle writer, came in next and delivered his own version, which he later described as Independence Day meets The Breakfast Club. Lionsgate rejected that one too. The studio wanted something grittier. Landis was vocal about it afterward, and when his script leaked online years later, he confirmed it was real and noted that none of it survived into the final product. Roberto Orci, initially attached as a producer, left to work on Star Trek Beyond. The project went through several more writing teams, Matt Sazama and Burke Sharpless, Michelle and Kieran Mulroney, before John Gattens ultimately wrote the shooting script. In April 2015, Dean Israelite signed on to direct. He'd made exactly one feature film, Project Almanac, a found-footage time travel movie that grossed $33 million worldwide. Handing him a $100 million franchise launcher was a gamble, and the kind of gamble Lionsgate kept making during this stretch. Gods of Egypt, The Last Witch Hunter, Mordecai, Child 44, they were swinging big on franchise plays and whiffing over and over.
10, 20, 30, 40.
Filming began in late February 2016 in Vancouver and wrapped that spring. The marketing push, though, was anything but modest. The first trailer hit in October 2016 and pulled over 150 million views in 48 hours. Lionsgate partnered with Krispy Kreme, GameSpot, IGN.
All right, let me stop you. Let me stop right there. It said 146 million. Not, and that's the thing too. It's a fraction of that. So, you know, let's say you know you got a car for sale, right? You probably have 1,000 people that likes it, you know, your post or saves your post, or you probably have 1,000 people ask you questions about the car. Only a fraction of those people are actually going to buy the car. Because remember, you're going to have a fraction of those people that's tire kickers. Well, majority of them are tire kickers, right? And then a fraction of those people are actually going to buy the car. So out of 1,000 people that's on your post, you probably have like 50 people, and that's being nice, that's actually going to buy the car. So, but I'm gonna do some quick math because it's about 146 million. I'm not even going to include that. I'm gonna say 80 million. And ticket sales, I know depending on where you're going, but I'm gonna keep it kosher and just say $15. So that's 1.2 million out of the. That's not right. That's wrong. You know, guys, why you didn't tell me that I was wrong about that? There we go. Missed some zeros. Okay, so let's say 80 million people actually went to go see the film, and I gave it, about a good number on the ticket, $15. So 80 million times $15 is $1.2 billion. So he said 146 million people that watched it. So 80 million, and it don't have to be 80 million. I can knock off another 20 million because it's only gonna be so many that's gonna go, right? Like it's gonna actually, that's about their life. So I said 80. I'm gonna put 60. That's $900 million. So all they need is just 40 million people to go watch the film. That's worldwide. So the fact that they didn't make 400 is crazy.
Atom tickets, and dozens of other brands. There was a VR experience at CES in Las Vegas, a mobile game that hit #1 on the App Store, and early promotional screenings in 50 cities. The cast was a mix of unknowns and veterans. Dacre Montgomery, Naomi Scott, R.J. Seiler, Becky G, and Ludi Lin played the 5 Rangers, all relatively fresh faces, none of them selling tickets on name recognition alone.
And that's the thing too. That's why okay, I'm gonna use this prime example, Street Fighter. A lot, a lot of these companies now, instead of them actually hiring actors, they're hiring celebrities. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. I know they want to, but normally they do that because the franchise is not doing so good. Matter of fact, they did that with I know in the early 2000s that was pretty common. One of my favorite Halloween films, which I don't like none of them besides the two that Rob Zombie produced, but Halloween H2O. They had Busta Rhymes and they had like some other actors, some other celebrities in there as well. But that was very common in the early 2000s where they'll start throwing celebrities in there instead of actors. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I think they did that with the 3D one or something like that. But that was very common. So when I say that and people kind of get a little bent out of shape, it's like, why do they have celebrities in this Street Fighter film? Why did they just can't get actual actors? And like, oh no, there's nothing wrong with them. Like, I mean, yeah, it's okay, but damn it, the whole cast or some kind of is a damn celebrity. Nothing against 50 Cent or the guy, the couple of wrestlers on there that WWE, but it's like, I'm gonna still watch it, but I'm not gonna be surprised if it doesn't do good. That's all I'm saying. So the fact that they use actual actors and they're not like, majority of these known actors, they're in their 50s and up. So I'm glad they didn't get any, like David Hemsworth or nothing like that. These guys are super old to play these teenagers. They would have been so weak. But the fact that they actually got actual actors that nobody really knows about, that made the movie even more special. But of course, these are teenagers. You're supposed to play teenagers. So I'm glad they didn't get the Rock, Dwayne Johnson. I'm like, oh my God, if he was been the power, I wouldn't have watched it. I promise you, nothing against them, but you don't need to do that on every movie. Just throw a celebrity in there. It's like put Kevin Hart in Power Rangers. Like, I'm not gonna watch it. So they had the right cast. I enjoyed it, but I think a lot of people say that they didn't like it because of I think they said something about like the droids or something. But I was reading some of the comments and nobody really was saying why they didn't like it. They said, "Oh, I don't like it." And then the people who did like myself, we was like, oh yeah, we like what they did. They did this, that, this, that. It wasn't perfect. The only thing I don't like about it is Goldar. They completely messed up Goldar. So but that's the thing too, because a lot of these companies, they rely on CGI and special effects so much, they do stuff like that. So the movie was cool, but the fact that they messed up Goldar ruined it for me. But they was gonna make some more, so they could, by people voicing their opinion, I can see them fixing Goldar in the future films, because that's all. They made a little boo boo on that, but I know people voice their opinions. They're like, okay, well, next time we're gonna fix it like this or that or whatever. So it's not gonna be obviously if you watch the film, it wasn't supposed to be an exact copy of the original '90s Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. This is a new version of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and I think also that the original fans, they wanted to be an exact carbon copy of the original '90s Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Like, that's not fair. That's not fair. They already did a film, back in the day. So why would they just completely copy the original with a new? You know what I mean? But there's people had their opinions. But at the end of the day, what it came down to, a lot of people didn't see the film. So that what it came down to. They didn't have a large support group. They had you see right now they had a large support group in the comment section when they were doing this, doing that, but less than half of them people actually showed up at the theater. So that what killed it.
Bryan Cranston and Elizabeth Banks anchored the veteran side as Zordon and Rita Repulsa, with Bill Hader voicing Alpha 5. They brought weight to the project, but whether this movie worked was always going to come down to whether people still cared about Power Rangers enough to show up. And the movie Israelite made was, on purpose, a coming-of-age drama wearing a superhero costume. The Rangers don't morph until deep into the second act. The Zords and Megazord barely appear before the climax. The first half plays more like a teen ensemble piece about 5 misfit kids bonding in detention and discovering alien artifacts in a quarry. One Ranger is on the autism spectrum. Another is grappling with her sexual orientation. The Red Ranger is under house arrest for a drunk driving incident. It was aiming for something closer to Chronicle or The Breakfast Club than Transformers. That ambition was real. Whether the execution matched it is a different conversation. Power Rangers opened on March 24, 2017, in almost 4,000 theaters. It debuted to 40.3 million, second place, behind the juggernaut second weekend of Beauty and the Beast. That number landed on the high end of tracking projections. By the metrics that matter on a Friday night, it was a decent start.
How much could you save by switching your car insurance to Allstate? Well, let's say this is you.
Then, the bottom fell out. The second weekend cratered to 14.5 million, a 64% drop. Week 3 kept sliding. The film was massively front-loaded. It pulled in the existing fan base and almost nobody beyond them. It closed its domestic run at 85.4 million and managed just 57 million internationally, for a worldwide total of 142.3 million. The production budget alone was north of 100 million. Factor in a marketing spend that likely pushed the break-even point past 250 million, and those numbers were brutal. The international performance made things worse. Power Rangers had almost nothing overseas, and even markets like China and Japan, where the franchise has deep roots through Super Sentai, failed to move the needle.
You're just boring!
Most critics
So, and that's the thing too, because obviously the hardcore Power Ranger fans, they're in their 40s and up. So the newer generation, and I'm gonna say this, I don't look for it on TV, but they're not watching it. Let's be honest, they're not watching it. So if the newer generation would have, because they had to see the original. That's the thing too. That's the downfall side of that as well. The franchise is so watered down. He literally showed. He had a post of how many different versions of Power Rangers. Power Rangers shows they made up until now. I think it was like 40 or something. Bro, I'm gonna tell you right now. I stopped watching after I think it was Power Rangers in Space. They had the ones like Power Rangers Dino or something like that. I probably watched like one show, but I watched a couple of the Power Rangers in Space. But I never finished any seasons. Within all, I don't know how many seasons they had of that one, but I probably watched maybe 3 shows, and I don't know how many episodes season they had, but I probably watched maybe 3, and then the Dino one that came after that, I probably watched like 5 minutes of it. You know what I mean? So it was the original Power Rangers in the '90s. Then they had Power Rangers. Was it Z? Not Zeo. Turbo. Power Rangers Turbo, and then after that, I believe they dropped the Power Rangers Ninja, and that came after. I believe it came after the first film, but it makes sense for them to have the original Power Rangers, and they did Power Ranger Ninja. Well, they dropped the film, the original '90s show. Then they dropped the film, and then they were supposed to do they said they were supposed to do like 6, 7 of them. That didn't work out because of the pay, and then they switched over to Power Rangers Turbo, and then they dropped the Power Rangers Turbo film, and then that's when they did the Power Ranger Ninja show. And then after that, it started getting all crazy. They was literally dropping new versions every freaking year. So, but that is watered down. So I know because there's so many shows now. So I understand that the newer generation didn't know anything about it because there's so many different versions, and on top of that, there's other shows that's out now that they're watching. So only way they would know about the original film, that's if they're watching it with their parents. But if the parents didn't put them on to the original Power Rangers, then they're not gonna know anything about it because there's so much other competition that's out there. And let's be honest, it came out in the '90s, bro. These kids wasn't even born yet when that show was even started, let alone over with. So they know nothing about the original Power Rangers. Only way they would know unless their parents put them on to the original Power Rangers. Other than that, they don't know nothing about it. They watching Ed and Eddie, they watching SpongeBob, they watching Rick and Morty, they watching South Park, you know what I mean? They watching those shows. They don't know nothing about it. So I understand, but they had the large, on paper, they had it, right? But literally nobody showed up. That would come because the movie wasn't perfect, but it's the fact that no one really showed up for the movie, even though they had the support on paper. Like, hey, we got the views, we got the likes here, but all right, we're gonna be all right. And then when they premiered the movie, no one showed up. And then they messed up in Japan and China. Well, it was Japan, I believe. because the original version was shot in their country. Was it Super Sentai? Sentai. That's the original Power Rangers. They brought it to America. They dubbed it, and they shot some scenes, with the Americans, and then that was it. But all the action you see, if you're OG, I'm just saying it. So all the action scenes, that was shot over there. They just took their footage, and then they just as far as the kids, they just got the American actors, and then they put them in. They included them in the actual videos. And when I was watching it, it never added up. It's like, why does the footage don't look the same? Even though I'm a kid, but you see stuff, you just all right, whatever, you just go along with it. But that's why the footage, if you watch it now, when they're doing the fighting scenes, it's never the same quality. When you see the teenagers, it's never the same. The quality is always low res compared to whenever in the fight scenes. And then when they show the kids at school or whatever walking around, the quality is always drastically different. So if you're gonna take their original show and then you flip it, you mix it up, and then you try to sell it back to them, it's like, no, that's not our original. That's not our original stuff. So they're not gonna support it because it's fake. Because their original stuff, they already have that. They already watching it. I'm pretty sure they got a whole bunch of movies or whatever, in their own country about Super Sentai. So for you to take that and then try to make it seem like, oh, here you go, like, no, they know it's fake. You're gonna buy a fake Gucci wallet or some shoes or whatever. You're gonna buy a fake Porsche for full price. I mean, you might buy a fake Porsche, but you're gonna pay full price for it. No, you're not gonna. You're like, get away from me with that. So they already know that's not the real deal. So they're not gonna support it. So it's sad that because again, they're trying to get all the money they can. So of course they're gonna push it worldwide. But the reason why it didn't do good in Japan because they know the people in Japan know it's fake. That's not the real deal. So they're not gonna watch it. So that's not surprised that Japan didn't pick it up because they know it's not the real deal. They know it's their content. You try to flip it and you try to sell it back to them, like, nah, they're not gonna support it because they got the real stuff at home. This is what it is.
Landed on the same problem. The film kept pulling in two directions at once, part brooding teen drama, part campy superhero spectacle, and it couldn't quite land as either one. Rotten Tomatoes landed at a 51, Metacritic scored at 44 out of 100. The tonal gap between Elizabeth Banks' chewing scenery as Rita Repulsa and the grounded character work happening around her showed up in review after review. So did the Krispy Kreme product placement, which crossed from aggressive into self-parody. Audiences were kinder. That A cinema score means the people who actually bought tickets walked out satisfied. Fans of the property appreciated what Israelite was trying to do. The broader movie-going public largely stayed home. Israelite himself pointed to the PG-13 rating as a factor. He said that internal market studies showed the film would have drawn significantly more traffic with a PG rating, and that tracks. Power Rangers is, at its core, a children's property. A PG-13 reboot aimed at nostalgic millennials ended up being too mature for the kids who should have been the built-in audience, and too lightweight for the older crowd it was courting.
And hopefully people like the film enough to sort of want a sequel, I guess.
The whole problem with Power Rangers comes back to one thing. They made it for the wrong crowd. Lionsgate and Saban looked at the superhero landscape of 2017 and saw an opening for a grounded, character-driven origin story. They looked at the nostalgia boom and saw a generation of 20-somethings who grew up with Mighty Morphin and might pay to revisit it in a more mature form. Both reads were right. The mistake was assuming those two groups were the same people, and that they were large enough to support a major tentpole. The campiness, the bright colors, the goofy monsters, the simple good versus evil framework. That was what made Power Rangers work for 3 decades. Stripping all of that away and replacing it with teen angst and muted color palettes created something that existing fans found interesting, but that gave new viewers almost no reason to care. A kid seeing this movie in 2017 would have waited an hour to see anyone actually become a Power Ranger. That's a hard sell when Spider-Man Homecoming is 3 months away. The Krispy Kreme situation became a punchline, and deservedly so. Product placement in blockbusters is routine. Nobody blinks at Audi showing up in a Marvel movie. Krispy Kreme and Power Rangers went beyond placement into plot.
Krispy Kreme!
The Zeo crystal, the thing the villain is trying to find, is literally buried underneath a Krispy Kreme. Rita Repulsa walks into one and eats a donut. At some point, it stops being a sponsorship deal and starts actively undercutting the stakes of the movie.
We gotta go to Krispy Kreme, Jason.
Home video sales were strong. Power Rangers debuted at #1 on disc sales charts and held that spot for 2 weeks. Merchandise saw a spike. Lionsgate had hedged their bet through pre-sales, so they weren't on the hook for as much as you'd think.
Krispy Kreme!
The studio walked away bruised. The franchise ambitions were dead, and that was the end of it.
Krispy Kreme.
Krispy Kreme! Krispy Kreme!
We gotta go to Krispy Kreme.
You Krispy Kreme motherfuckers!
Within months, Saban started letting the trademark for the film's logo lapse. By May 2018, Saban sold the entire Power Rangers property to Hasbro for $522 million in cash and stock. Hasbro announced plans for a sequel, then pivoted to a full reboot, then brought in Jonathan Entwistle to build a connected universe.
I mean, they did do another Power Ranger film. It was what is it? Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I think it's called Forever Power Ranger. It's on Netflix. It's good. It's for the OGs. So, you should know. If you don't know, it's on Netflix. It came out I think 2 years ago or something like that. But it's on the same level. They kept it's the same level as a TV show. So it's just in a movie form. Let me look it up, see what's happening. Yeah, it's called Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Once and Always. Came out in 2023, and it's just like the TV show, the 90s. It's just a movie. So they kept all the, you know what I mean? It's literally just like the TV show that was in the 90s. On different, it's in a movie form. So it's cool. I like it. They don't have all the actors. One of them passed away and other stuff. I think it was a money issue or something like that. So, but the fact that majority of them did show up in the movie, that's a blessing within itself. So.
Across film and television for Netflix. That fell apart in 2024 after 4 years of development hell. The franchise has since landed at Disney Plus, with the Percy Jackson showrunners Jonathan Steinberg and Dan Schatz attached to write and produce a new live-action series expected to begin filming in 2026. For the first time in Power Rangers history, the show will be produced entirely without Japanese Super Sentai footage, a clean break from 30 years of tradition. Meanwhile, the 2017 film has quietly picked up something close to a cult following. Fans who go back to it tend to praise the cast chemistry and how earnestly Israelite tried to give these teenagers real depth. R.J. Kyler's performance as Billy, an autistic superhero in a major studio blockbuster, something that was almost unheard of at the time, is routinely cited as a highlight. Dacre Montgomery went on to Stranger Things. Naomi Scott landed Aladdin and Charlie's Angels. The cast was better than the material around them, and the material was more ambitious than the franchise probably needed it to be. The gap between what Power Rangers tried to be and what the market wanted it to be, that's the whole story. A reboot that aged up a children's property and then couldn't figure out how to sell it to either generation. A studio that planned 7 movies before the first one earned a sequel. On paper, every choice had logic behind it. In practice, they produced a film that pleased the people who saw it and failed to convince anyone else to buy a ticket. The 4-picture deal Dacre Montgomery signed became a single film and a cautionary tale. And somewhere, underneath a Krispy Kreme, the Zeo crystal is still waiting.
Krispy Kreme!
Yeah, so that's the thing too about because I watched the interview. The guy who played the Blue Ranger, he said they was gonna do 7 films on some Transformer type stuff. I'm gonna say this right now. I mean, let me know down below. Do you think if they could have kept that same, they could have kept it going for 7 films? That's a lot of films. That's the thing too about Transformers, Fast and the Furious. It's like, all right, that was a great film. That's the last one, great. And then next thing you know, oh, come out with another one. It's like, I thought that was the last one, and then it's like, I'll go see it, I guess, and I don't really expect anything in particular when I go see them, but if they're good, it's like, Fast and the Furious, that's a perfect example. Each one got better, crazy enough, and it's like, oh, we're gonna do another one. It's like, at this point, it's like, bro, this just let it go. Like, god dang, they just keep going with it. Same thing with Terminator. They make quite a few, but it's like, at some point he's got to wrap it up and move on. But I don't understand if you got a money making, especially if you're making more money off of the next film, they're just gonna keep going until it just flops pretty much. Because how many more Fast and Furious movies can you make? You literally have to just do something so bizarre to where I know people online was making fun of me. Oh, the next one gonna be Fast and Furious outer space. I'm like, that's where they're gonna have to go because like they already did everything around the world already. It's like, bro, you went to every country. You probably didn't go to Africa, so they probably be the next one. They're gonna go to, I don't know, but it's like, what are you gonna do next? Like you literally have to go to outer space on the next one. So they just keep dragging it on. Like, don't get me wrong, they making money. That's why they keep making another one. But you just gotta know when to fold them. It's like, bro, all right, we get it. We had a blast. It was a great series. But do you think they would have actually? I don't know. I mean, I guess the budget. I mean, well, they already showed the budget, but it's like, you think they really would have been successful making 7? I'm cool with 3. I'm cool with 3, but I know a lot of that because they don't really have a lot of ideas. They keep saying in Hollywood. So if something's working out, they'll just keep going with it. Now, me saying something about Fast and the Furious, but yet every time they drop a new X-Men film, I'm running to the theater. So it's like, I guess I'm just biased or whatever, but who don't like X-Men, right? And then they keep making different versions of it, so they keep it fresh. They keep it fresh. Fast and the Furious, they do the same thing too, but it's like, how long are you gonna stretch this storyline, right? Now X-Men, they got all kind of story they can come up with. So I guess I don't know. And it's just more going on with X-Men. I don't know. But the 7 films, that's a stretch. I'm like, I would have supported y'all for the 3 because of storyline, you know what I mean? But for y'all to do like 7, I'm like, I don't know about all that. So that's the thing right there too. You gotta look at it's like, you come out with a film, how many movies you want to support in that franchise? Like, was it Transformer? They on a 7. They say you're gonna come out with another one. And the last one I watched, it was cool, but it's like I wasn't really paying attention to it. It's like, oh, it's cool, but it's like, that movie came out in the early 2000s. They still making more of them, but it's one of them things, man. If you watch the original film, let me know what your thoughts about it. Me actually bought the DVD. I got it in my room right now, so I'm with it to the end. But it's only the original. Like all the other ones, I don't care about that. So that's what I'm saying. Like they had the support on the internet. You saw the video. He had all these views, all the likes, but no one showed up at the theater. It's like that was bizarre, very bizarre. So I know the budget, but the advertisement was a hell of a lot. So even if they did, I mean, you got to advertise no way around it. So even though they advertised less, so whatever they did in Japan and China, they should have just left it alone. So obviously somebody didn't do their research. They just automatically assume that they'll like the U.S. version better than their version, the original version, which is a silly idea. So they could have just had some people go out there and do some research and find out, hey, what do you think about this film? What have a poll and this and that. They should have did that instead of just, cause they advertise out there too. Instead of them advertising out there, and you advertising, the phony product. It's funny because you're in China, right? But you advertising a phony product to them, and you're surprised that they didn't buy it. It's like, no, because they made the original version. Now, if you made the original version, of course they're gonna watch it. But you trying to sell them a fake version, they're not. And then they made the original, so they're not gonna support it. So I'm not surprised that it flopped out there. But I wonder if they didn't advertise out there in China and Japan, if that that would have helped. But at the end of the day, they said it right now that literally no one really went to the theaters to watch the film, which is a total bummer. Now the movie's not perfect, but I enjoyed it. But for it to have a fraction of the people that actually went, it's like, what happened to all them people that was online bragging about it? It's crazy. So that was going to be amazing for the people that's complaining about, oh, they really didn't show any action till the end because they was building up the movie. That's why. That's the thing too. People have short attention spans. It's like, bro, the script was perfect. I that movie was rock solid, especially from something that came, the last one that came out, what, early 2000s, and then they did a remake, and it's like that was great. Like I was emotionally attached to that film. It's like it feels so real, like the acting and all this stuff, the music. But people complain, the people that did go, you had some that complained, oh, they didn't show anything to the end of the film. Dude, they was gonna make 7 films. Like they was building up to this. It's not, and they going off of the original show. It's like, no, bro, this is a new version. This is a new version. They not gonna just start the film and then 5 minutes later everybody morphing and fighting. No, they gotta build it up. So some people, they did complain about that. Me, I enjoyed the film all the way out. Then the fact that the plan was to do 7 of them or whatever. I'm like, oh my god, because I already knew, and especially how they ended the film. The next one they was gonna have Tommy, and everybody's like, let me see. I hope this don't pop up. And then everybody's like, oh man, who gonna play Tommy? So we already was hyped for the next film. But at the end of the day, it didn't work out. Will it come back? I'm not gonna say no, but all these actors are older now and stuff like that. That movie came out in 2017. It's 2026, so all these people are older now. It's like I don't see it, man. But I'll say this: I'm grateful that they did drop one, because I can watch it as many times as I want. So I'll just take that away. But anyway, if you guys watch the movie, let me know what you think about it down below. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. If you can donate something to Cash App, I appreciate you. And yeah, until next time.